Hello viewers and welcome to another episode of Lancer Custom Werks, where I will be discussing the various mech builds you could make and play with Lancer. Viceroy, following the righteous path of being a SRM carrier, is a frame that decided that firing missiles at point-blank range is a perfectly viable tactic. It even considers any launcher weapon as CQB weapon with threat 3, meaning you can overwatch with a Gandiva or a goddamn hammer. This also means that Vanguard talent is now usable for your launcher weapons, which can make them vastly more dangerous when combined with Stormbringer. Stormbringer is also something that you will see very often in this episode. Knockback is just useful after all. Viceroy itself even comes with a mini Stormbringer trait, and it is also resistance to explosive damage, because you will almost certainly be blowing yourself up half of the time. That said, compared to Monarch, Viceroy's core power is less spectacular, but also you are basically using yourself as a goddamn warhead. As for the roles, unsurprisingly, Viceroy is very good at the striker role for its close range prowess, but because most launcher weapons have long range too, a lot of these builds are still quite dangerous at longer ranges as artillery builds. It also works somewhat well in defender role too, as you will be putting Vanguard on it most of the time anyway. Otherwise, what are you even doing? Just get Monarch. And of course, Viceroy can take a side role in controller and support roles too, about as well as most frames anyway. Anyway, let's start this off with the striker artillery builds, the most common build first. Full course is of course a very normal striker artillery Viceroy build that lives up to its name, with both Vanguard and Stormbringer to make it very dangerous at both close range and long range, which with Sharanga and Gandiva missiles, you can easily strike down everything at both range bands at once. Plus with rapid maneuver jet, you can easily get out of any sticky situation, just like an AC. Deth Quartet is another Viceroy that has gone all in on firepower. It has 0 systems, but it does have 2 Paracausal weapon mods, so its missiles can go right through any defense. However, one of it is applied to a Shatterhead missile, and while it probably can't miss, that damage just feels way too low to be worth it. Also, request 100% granted. Gambling is another Viceroy with no system, all in on Paracausal mods. Also, it has dual Unraveler, because for some reasons this weapon counts as launcher. Obviously, this is a lot of damage, but you are also gambling on the fact that if your attack don't kill the target in one shot, you will not be doing much. That said, you have Heatfall for cheap overcharge, so you can always just spam attack. MS-18E Kämpfer, because of course I'm gonna talk about this thing, is just a Viceroy with LUCIFER for a whole lot of damage, and also with Ace and Burst Jump Jet, you can really get across the distance very quickly for close quarter attack. You even have a supermassive hammer for a whole lot of knockback. Stormbringer just adds to it, and combined arms, so you get to have more accuracy slashing with that torch. I fight on my own terms, thank you, is a Viceroy that prefers having a bit of defense. You basically just get close, activate hyperdense armor, and become a giant pain in the ass for anyone that's range 3 away from you, and if they try to get close, they will get a face full of rockets, which with Gunslinger, is gonna get even more painful. Oops, all missiles is a simple flying Viceroy, so you can always rain missiles from somewhere. With Uncle handling the Gandiva, you can just spam all the Vijaya rockets all the time, which with 5 of them, you can basically trigger I kill with my heart every turn. It really just works. Cyberpunk Drive-By is a mobile Viceroy that can teleport and phase through walls. It's good at chasing fast enemies down and shooting a whole lot of missiles at them. Neurolinked helps too when you need slightly more range for this purpose. Triple Tap is an Azura Viceroy for the sole purpose of shooting all the missiles in one turn with the power of more actions. The name comes from the fact that because you can tick up the Gunslinger dice even when bombing yourself, you can charge it rapidly with missile rack if there's quite a few enemies plus you in the blast radius. In fact, the name Triple Tap comes from the fact that it's possible for you to unleash 3 I kill with my heart in one turn with Azura, as long as you already have the dice fully charged up in the previous turn. Still, that's a lot of firepower. Lastly, there's Power of the Friendship, a Viceroy build that went straight into the territory of
what in the goddamn.
So, remember the Iconoclast talent from Dustgrave and how insane it would be if you have like all the NHP on board. This is that build. Congratulations, you no longer just shoot missiles, you also shoot all the lightning. With the sheer amount of NHP you get, you can easily ligma someone to death in one turn. To give an example, you can activate Cloaking, spend a quick on Scylla, this deals 4 damage with 2 transmuting sparks, then activate Transcendence mode because of that. Use the unstable NHP for Mimetic Spark for another 2 damage with Transmuting Spark again, plus 9 more for the actual Mimetic Spark itself. All of this damage is deterministic and AP, so you can make even the most evasive enemy dead on the fucking spot in one turn. Power of Friendship people, they do work. And that's basically it on the striker artillery builds, good at both short range and long range, mostly short range. Anyway, let's take a look at something that focuses on only the close range band, the striker builds. You ever see a ninja with a bazooka is a Viceroy that's going to be teleporting all over the damn place with fold knives, singularity motivator, and skirmisher. Combined arms work well here with its dual fold knife Vijaya rocket mounts, and with javelin missiles, it can lay them down and knock enemies into them for extra damage with Stormbringer. Add in Ghost Weave for invisibility, and it can easily get through any reaction fire before slashing and blasting enemies apart. While you were studying launchers, I was studying the blade, isn't of all things, a Titanomachy brawler Viceroy with Seekomet for a whole lot of melee attacks, especially with the nanocarbon sword. You really want to get close with Pankrathy and just start slashing. Honestly, I'm not sure what to think of this build because it kinda doesn't fit Viceroy, but it also kinda works. It even has Iconoclast for extra free damage with Seekomet, so this build is quite dangerous up close. Berserk 2016 Clang.omap is a Viceroy with a whole lot of knockback. Thanks to Ramjet and a supermassive power knuckles, you basically line up a row of javelin rockets, then knock people into them with the Ramjet boosted charged blade and the power knuckles. That is easily a lot of damage, especially with the javelin dealing a total of 9 damage. Other than that, you still have a bunch of launchers. URPL Punch-Out is another Titanomachy Viceroy, one that's probably better designed since it has Duelist and Siege Ram for the whole combo. Basically, for people that don't know this, Duelist can give free grapple or ram, Titanomachy just give you another one if you perform those two actions, and Siege Ram gives ram action damage, so it's gonna be quite painful. Other than that, you have a supermassive hammer and a thermal charged blade, so add in combined arms, and you got a simple but effective brawler build. Lastly, there's Hey, It's Me, Goku, a flying Viceroy with Ace, Mimic Mesh, and Singularity Motivator for even more mobility, a whole lot of mobility in fact. You can really just move to the closest source of conflict at extreme speed, and then just blast the shit out of people with all the missiles. It just works. And that's it on the striker build, just a touch more close range focused than your usual Viceroy build. Now let's take a look at something that can do more than just shooting, the striker controller builds. Basic ass Viceroy controller is a basic ass Viceroy controller build. You go in, shoot people with missiles, impair targets with burst launcher and heavy gunner, and generally throw a lot of troubles around with Horo S1 and Neurospike. All the forced movement is quite useful too when you push people into things they don't like javelin rockets. You should shoot yourself now is a Viceroy build that can gather up your foes with Beckoner, and blow them the fuck up with all the missile racks for so much I kill with my heart bonus damage. And if you want to increase the Gunslinger dice even faster, you could put yourself in the blast radius and nuke it even harder. That said, you need to reload to use these missile racks again, so you can't do this every turn, sadly. Come my lady, You're My Butterfly is a flying Viceroy intending on setting everything on fire like a dragon, with Agni, Havoc charges, and of course, Plasma Thrower for a lot of burning. Turns out you don't need smart tactics when you can just set everything on fire. The Spastic Rocket Pistol Special is a simple Vijaya rocket spam Viceroy Gunslinger build, that can also phase through walls and move things around with Ferris Lash, giving it a lot of potential for movement shenanigans. Watch Your Step is a Viceroy with a gravity gun, a lot of explosives, and full demolitionist talent. I think you can figure out where this is going. Once you throw out some mines, you can pull targets into them with gravity gun, knock them back into them with Stormbringer, or just step on them yourself when they are close. The possibilities are endless. You even have Clamp Bomb to force people into a dilemma of move or die. For example, throw out mine behind an enemy and prepare an action to shoot them if they move. If they move, they get shot and exploded. If they don't move, they still get exploded, though the smart one will realize that the mine hits just plain harder, so not moving is the better choice, but that just means that your allies don't need to worry about them if they are a striker though. The Vice B Resident is a drone commander Viceroy with 2 Tempest drones, plus a mimic gun that can benefit from Vanguard, Stormbringer, and Senti-Main all at once. The idea is simple: shoot a target with mimic gun, knocking them into the Tempest drones that ping-pong them around for a bit, and if you get lucky, the target gets even more pain from Senti-Main effect.
I'm Tori, and I'm here to ask you one question, and one question only. Explosions!
Is a build that uses a whole lot of javelin, mines, and delayed Pinaka strike to maximize area denial as much as possible, meaning a whole lot of explosives, This build will definitely work a lot better if it's paired with another controller that can actually throw people into things. Viceroy, our boy with all his toys, is a Viceroy with a supermassive hammer that can knock people into a whole lot of things, or set up data emblems with Horo S3, then force people to move into them with Horo S1 for enough heat to heat gun anything to hell. Finally, Tempest is another controller Viceroy that throws a whole lot of mines and traps everywhere for area denial. You also have a concussion missile to knock people into things, plus a Tempest charged blade for incredible violence up close with Executioner. And that's basically it on the Striker controller builds. Honestly, a little bit of control can spice things up a bit for even a primarily damage dealing build. It's just convenient. Now, let's move on to the Striker Defender builds. A little to the left please is a Scylla Viceroy with monitor module for a large amount of reaction fires. They won't do a lot of damage, but with Stormbringer, you can be sure that they will never get close to you and your allies with all that knockback. You also have Scorpion to disencourage tech attack to you and your allies, and Iconoclast for just a little more extra damage, and full hacker talent for if you decided to heat gun someone to death. Unforgettable Luncheon, or a treatise on obligations, is a half Minotaur Viceroy with a lot of Minotaur systems to put a stop to things. Add in Heavy Gunner, and nobody will dare to get close to you, though if you do need to run away, you have Reactive Weave. And finally, there's Everything is a Nail, a Viceroy with a prototype weapon and super stacked hammer to explode things really hard, and also Wandering Nightmare to completely shut down some really pain in the ass enemy types, with Unhinged Chronology to make things fast or make enemies slow. Not much else to say. Viceroy isn't really built for defender role, but its preference on having Vanguard talent does make it marginally better at it. Finally, we got something really weird. The missile knows where you are, it is observing you, is a Striker support Viceroy. It has a lot of missiles to do a normal Viceroy things, but it also has Lotus Projector to see through disguises, Unhinged Chronology to bend time, and Dynamos so allies can always get to where they want safely. Plus, Heavy Gunner Stormbringer combo with Gandiva missile can really bring in a lot of pain. Well, I guess that's it for all 40 Viceroy builds. A bit disappointed that there's no Fomorian Battle Taxi build though, but I guess Viceroy is one size too small for that. Anyway, I would like to thank all of my viewers who have submitted their builds for this episode. Viceroy is definitely a frame that's very good at blowing things up, whether that's enemies or itself. For a lot of long-range launcher weapons, the ability to benefit from Vanguard is kinda just a bonus, but for short-ranged ones like Hammer and Vijaya Rocket, it benefits them tremendously, which is probably why a lot of Viceroy builds use these two launchers more than others. With Vanguard, the URPL Hammer basically has neutral accuracy, and Vijaya gets +2 accuracy. Those are not small bonuses when combined with the addition of every launcher weapon getting a threat 3 with Viceroy. Again, add in Stormbringer as well, and Viceroy can really wreak havoc both up close and afar. Anyway, that's all for now and I will see you all next time. Hello there, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell button. If you really want to support my channel, you could visit my Patreon page, or buy me some coffee, links in the description. Anyway, have a nice day.